Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars lore video. Before we begin, I just completely wiped my computer. Let me know if you guys think my audio sounds better or worse because I did lose some of my settings. I'm just curious to hear what you guys think. Anyway, today we are talking about some of the most advanced combat units in galactic history. The Clone Commando, and specifically just how awesome Clone Commando armor is, because Clone Commandos really are their own unique thing within the Galactic Republic's military. There's nothing like them. Yeah, there are other elite units within the military, like ARC Troopers, for example, but I don't think there was any better outfitted military unit during the Clone Wars. That's actually why in my headcanon, Clone Commandos are deadlier than ARC Troopers. Now, I don't think the lore necessarily holds that up, and they kind of just serve different roles, with ARC Troopers playing a larger role in standard military engagements alongside ordinary clones, and Clone Commandos often being used for more delicate special forces missions. All of that notwithstanding, I do think it's interesting to look at just how much money the Republic would have put in Clone Commando armor, called in Star Wars Legends Katarn Armor, and how dominant that would have made them on the battlefield. Alright, so we went over the basics of the Clone Commando. They operated more as special forces units. They had a high degree of creativity. They were a little less rigid than standard clones, but how does that reflected in their armor? Well, as I mentioned, Clone Commandos were outfitted with unique Katarn armor. There were several different variants, but they all have several key features. First of all, Katarn armor is meant to make Clone Commandos very, very survivable. Unlike standard issue clone armor, which is a little bit surprising, Commando armor could actually be sealed to a vacuum, and the armor itself was also more durable, but those are really only small differences when compared with the game changer of the Katarn armor, a personal deflector shield. Now, personal deflector shields are extraordinarily rare for humanoid beings within the Star Wars universe. You sometimes see them operated by droids, but it's just not very common. Why is that? Well, generally we know that it's very hard to miniaturize shield technology in the Star Wars universe, and that's sort of in line with how things are generally in Star Wars technology. Things are capable of a great deal of power generation, but they're not often very miniaturized. And in the case of shields, as I've discussed in prior videos, personal shielding also generally tended to output a lot of radiation, and probably more importantly, was very, very expensive to produce, with only some minimal return. And the radiation thing is pretty important. That's why we see droids more frequently outfitted with shields, because they don't have organic parts that radiation can affect. But obviously, Clone Commando armor somehow managed to both store a large power pack within the suit, perhaps near the backpack, and also somehow mitigated the effects of radiation. We also hear, in the case of other energy shields, stories of shield emitters or power generators exploding, but as far as my knowledge goes, that's never been the case with Clone Commando armor. That bit of technology alone, the shield and the power generator, probably made Katarn armor more expensive than standard clone armor or even ARC Trooper armor. But I mean, there are real benefits, because the deflector shields would have protected quite well against blasters. They could be recharged, but they also protected against solid projectiles, indicating that the armor had both a ray shield and a particle shield, which is very, very impressive. And I mean, this makes sense. Your Clone Commando groups have to be very survivable, and they have to be able to shrug off a blaster, because frequently they'll be operating for long periods of time behind enemy lines where they're at massive numbers disadvantages. So we've got shielding. What else makes the Clone Commando armor great? The Katarn armor. Well, there's a lot. Generally, Katarn armor was packed with state-of-the-art electronics and computer systems. And I mean, that's no surprise. If you just look at the armor itself, you can tell that it's much more advanced technologically compared to standard clone trooper armor. Clones had state-of-the-art HUD systems which could link up with their guns. They could easily communicate through that HUD as well with their team members, and were even able to boost this communication to the greater Republic military through some hardware within their helmet. Most Clone Commando armor was was also heavily customizable, so as we see in the Clone Commando video game, squad members with niche and specific purposes could build a loadout effective for their specific mission. This was facilitated by the large backpack that most Katarn Armor came with or could be added to, where a clone could store extra ammunition or med packs or even better communications equipment, additional explosives, and more. Most clones also seem to come equipped with lock-breaking equipment, space for grenades, and of course, the unique melee weapon within their gauntlets. The Katarn Armor had all of this extra technology and equipment and armor, but was seemingly not any more difficult to move in than standard clone armor, and may have even had some benefits when compared to a Phase 1. Complementing the adaptable and survivable armor of the Clone Commando was the DC-17M rifle. The DC-17M was incredibly versatile and was meant to be the only weapon that a commando would need to accomplish any mission objective without having to resupply. The 17M was essentially just a weapon platform for several different guns, which were probably stored within a Clone Commando's backpack. Specifically, the 17M had a sniper rifle mode, a grenade launcher mode, and a standard combat rifle mode, with most likely more permutations available with specialized parts. So the DC-17M, like Commando armor, served to make Clone Commandos arguably the greatest soldiers available to the Republic. Now again, it's hard to compare them with some of the other advanced trooper types like the ARCs, because they served a really unique role. Clone Commandos were not fighting on the front lines with thousands or tens of thousands of other clones at their side. They were often taking part in very covert advanced missions where they would work in a small squad against overwhelming numbers and force. This armor and its extra protection and capabilities allowed Clone Commandos to be successful against even overwhelming odds. What I've discussed today is just a sort of brief introduction into the basics of Clone Commando armor. Because the troopers were used in a variety of situations, their combat loadout could be even further heavily customized. Like, I don't doubt that Clone Commandos were frequently equipped with jetpacks, or maybe additional oxygen so that they could survive even longer in vacuum, or stealth packages so they could turn maybe completely invisible. Again, these were very expensive troopers for the Republic, and arguably the only troopers that the Republic really went out of their way to make survivable. But guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, please be safe, watch yourself out there, have a good day, and of course, may the Force be with you.